Hey love bugs, how are you doing? Welcome back to another almost daily December. If you are new here, hello, my name is Nancy. I live in Ecuador and currently I'm sitting in front of the Ecuadorian cloud forest, one of my favorite ecosystems in the whole world. So on this channel we talk about Ecuador, we talk about bugs, usually both at the same time. So if any of those are interesting to you, be sure to subscribe. The more of you that subscribe, my goal is 5,000 subscribers by the end of December. So help a girl out, okay? Today's video was inspired by my friend slash rival Cheryl. She did a really good video about ways that she's noticed the pandemic is affecting the ecosystems and conservation as a whole. And if you want to send her some love, tell her that her rival BUGS sent you. So you can click the card up there, or you can go into the description after my video though, because my video is more important.
Has certainly changed a lot about our world and how our society functions, at least for the time being. And back at the beginning of the pandemic, several outlets ran optimistic stories about how those changes might be good for the environment. But today, I'd like us to examine the environmental costs of the pandemic. But while the two issues I've already mentioned were bad, I think the single biggest environmental problem caused by the COVID summed up in one word: plastic.
So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about something that I realize the pandemic has greatly affected and makes me really concerned for the future of Ecuador's conservation. So for those of you who don't know, I do ecotourism. I do personalized tours of areas just like this, the cloud forest, focused on ecology, entomology, conservation, and local culture. So obviously this pandemic that has hit has made my job a lot more difficult. So hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. That's why it's back and alive. But I thought it would be such a good idea because Cheryl talked about, like plastic and food waste and all these things, to talk about some very real effects that I've seen here in Ecuador due to the lack of tourism. So first, let me tell you a little bit about how Ecuador does its conservation. About 20% of Ecuador is conserved, and Ecuador is about the size of Colorado, so that's pretty good. We have 60-ish protected parks and areas. If the government owns those, basically the government can kind of do whatever they want with it. A lot of it is protected. But for example, the Yasuni, which is the biggest national park in Ecuador and also is protecting the Amazon, the previous president destroyed a pristine rainforest to build a pipeline. Because the government owned it, they could kind of do whatever they want with it, even though it's technically out for conservation. The other way, and this is what a lot of private reserves use, is that in Ecuador's constitution, nature has the right to persist and exist and live in probably the pursuit of happiness, but nature is effectively a person in the Constitution and can be defended in court by a lawyer. So many people, especially communities in the Amazon who are protecting their own little private little parts of property, can protect it from oil companies or mining companies or logging companies under this, constitutional thing that Ecuador's nature has the right to exist. There are many private reserves. This is what I've noticed mainly on the western side of Ecuador that is about 95% deforested and basically kind of forgotten. So Ecuador's western coast, 95% deforested. The cloud forest used to be used for logging and for farming. So up here in the cloud forest, there's a lot of coffee, heart of palm, sugar cane, and like yucca and bananas and stuff like that. So there's a lot of agriculture in this area, and also on the coast there's a ton of agriculture because that's where chocolate grows, and also that's where palm oil grows, so a lot of palm oil down there. There are people that have decided, especially in Mindo, which is this little community here, and they used to all do logging and kind of take advantage of the ecosystem here, but then they realized, hey, like these crazy gringos come and they like want to look at our nature. We should all like band together and protect it. The cloud forest was kind of forgotten when all of this conservation stuff was happening. It's not the Amazon, so whatever, right? So this little group in Mindo basically started to band together, and now so a lot of the area of the Western Cloud Forest is bought up and owned by private entities, either community specifically or eco lodges, business owners, etc., etc. And there's this mosaic of conserved area because of all these private and individual efforts. So what's happening in the pandemic is that because a lot of these businesses can't survive, like there just isn't tourism right now, like Mindo survives and can protect the forest because gringos, foreigners come and want to do bird watching, want to go zip lining, want to go tubing down the river, even though I'm in a jacket. I don't go tubing down this river because it's cold. But they want to do tubing, they want to do horseback riding, they want to do like adventure waterfall climbing things, they want to do horseback riding, they just want to like take a lovely stroll through the cloud forest. So all of these different activities are basically not happening right now. And those business owners, they can protect the land because people are coming to pay to be on it. And because now they are struggling financially, some of them have to sell that land or it just gets taken from them because they're not paying the taxes on it. And that opens up a whole can of worms. Like who buys it? Where does it go? Mining is really popular in this area. Farming is really popular in this area. So, you know, if these businesses go under, it's just little parts of these forests that's already heavily deforested that are disappearing. I have a friend who is selling butterfly pupa to places in Europe, and he has a 100-hectare little plot of land. It's this little oasis in hectares and hectares and hectares and hectares worth of farmland, just heart of palms, like straight, clear cut, monoculture, just done, slap. So it's places like this that aren't getting any tourism right now that I'm particularly worried about. So that's just kind of like we don't have money and we might have to sell our land to someone who will use it for a different purpose. But the other scary part is that Ecuador's government can also claim eminent domain. When you own a private place like this, you technically own everything from the topsoil up. That means if the government thinks that there's gold or copper or silver or something else underground that they need, they can claim eminent domain, come into your property, clear cut everything, dig everything out of the ground, and then once your ecosystem is destroyed and they've depleted all of the materials, be like, well, you still technically own it, like it's still yours, but obviously all the value of that land has then been taken and, you know, the forest has been destroyed. And especially in this area of the cloud forest, there possibly is gold underground here. And especially in Esmeraldas, like that's why it's called Esmeraldas, which is the northwest coast, is because that's where a lot of Ecuador's emeralds came from. And there's also gold down there. So before the pandemic, businesses could say like, hey, nature has the right to exist. But not only that, it's profitable. We are making money because people are coming and looking at this ecosystem, are coming here and doing these bird stuff, all that kind of stuff. But now that the tourism dollars aren't coming in, the pressure for governmental mining, especially being sold out to Chinese mines, is getting higher and higher and higher, and it's harder and harder and harder for these local businesses who are still here to be like, no, stay out of my land. So that's one aspect in the cloud forest. The other aspect is, especially on the coast, I love the coast, but I'd like to call it the kind of like the Wild West of Ecuador. There are laws, but if there's no one there to enforce those laws, are there really laws? Like, really? The tallest mangroves in the world are in Ecuador, reaching heights of 120 feet. Like, they're giant trees. Like, I was walking on a boardwalk and the prop roots start above my head, kind of like giant mangrove trees. And previously, these mangroves were cut down to make room for shrimp farms, so that way shrimp can be exported mainly to Argentina but also to the States. So the shrimp farms have come through and like cut everything down, and then they were just used for logging. They're very slow growing trees. They are insect resistant. The roots are bent, so it's really easy to kind of manipulate them into curved and really decorative structures. So they were used a lot in logging. But then the government was like, okay, any shrimp farms, you can still be here, but it is illegal to cut the mangroves down. They are an important part of the ecosystem. They prevent erosion. They're habitat for many different fish. They're like super, super important, right? So, but now, because there's really no enforcement and there's not a lot of tourism coming down to really look at these mangroves right now, in a small town that I do a lot of tourism in called Mompiche, a whole section of replanted and regrown mangroves were just cut down. And they say like, oh, we're not going to use them for logging, but that's pretty much BS. Like, they definitely are going to sell that whenever they can. It'll go on the black market, it'll go here, it'll go there. But the reason for cutting it down is that when the fishermen go out in their boats, they bring the boats up to like the front of the town, but it's a little bit further and a little bit harder for them to do that. So they're like, oh, we'll just cut all the mangroves down like right here, and it's easier for us to pull our boats up at night. And because there's no one there to stop it, because the ministry right now, like all government employees have gotten a huge pay reduction because the government is broke here. I mean, every government is broke through all this. Government is broke here. So they like reduced staff, they reduced like pay. And so like the ministry, there's like not enough people to go around to stop this kind of thing. And like, oh, now it's over. Like, it happened already. It's gone. Whether you have someone in who like illegally, who finds the people who did it, if you can even find them, the damage has already been done. So I'm really continuously worried about things like that. What can you do to help? Because that's always the thing that I get. Donations are hard because you don't know who you're donating to, and you don't really know where your dollar is exactly going. So I understand if you don't want to do any donations. So here are some things you can do. As soon as you are able to, come here. Ecuador right now, we've got the virus under control. Everyone wears masks. Your temperature is taken when you go into different buildings. So that aspect, we are relatively safe, and every hotel that's still open has very strict biosecurity measures. So when you go into your hotel, you have to wipe your feet off, your luggage is completely sanitized, you must wear a mask, all of these different things. When you're out here in the forest, like walking around by yourself, you can take your mask off, especially if you're by yourself, social distancing, all of those things. But we're open right now. All you need is a negative PCR test to enter, and you don't even need to quarantine if you walk in with that negative PCR test. So come as soon as you can, as soon as you're financially able, as soon as you feel safe to do so, come here, please, and help us protect this amazing, beautiful forest. The other thing that you can do is find sustainably resourced goods that you would otherwise be consuming. So for example, in this area, I have annoyed some wasps apparently. Hello friends. Hi. So what can you do? Again, so this area is known for its coffee. This is where some of the best coffee in the whole world is grown. And if you find shade-grown coffee is built in these corridors of both coffee and rainforest. And so you get a smaller yield, but the yield is a lot better. It's a higher quality coffee. It has more fruity. I really like it. I didn't like coffee until I got to Ecuador, and I had the shade-grown coffee from this area. So if you want, I can leave some links where you can buy some shade-grown coffee. And if you go to your grocery store and you see shade-grown coffee, fair trade, all of those things, like that money is directly coming to people who are helping to conserve the rainforest. Another product you can buy is shade-grown chocolate. So instead of like Hershey's or like Nestle, there's also really amazing shade-grown cacao and chocolate bars that you can get. They are more expensive, but that's because it's fair trade again. So you're, like the money that you're paying is going directly to the farmers and how much it actually costs them to run. And it's super, super high quality chocolate. There's two main types of varieties here. Basically, there's the yellow one, which is the national cacao, which grows on the coast and it needs shade to grow, but it's like the fruit inside is like thicker, and again, when that fermentation process happens, it makes the chocolate sweeter and more fruity and really, really nice. And then there's the hybrid that can grow in full sun, which is what like Hershey's and Nestle and stuff use. So you can help and buy these shade-grown products, and that directly benefits the rainforest in these areas. And number 3 is just staying informed. The more informed you are about what's happening in different parts of the world, the more you can make better decisions about, how you want to travel in the future if you want to travel, like what goods and products you consume, Like, where's your money specifically going? So those are things, a couple things you can do to help. I hope that you liked this video, this little kind of casual like sit and chat video, and I will see you all tomorrow, I guess. Alright, love bugs, let me know if you've noticed any changes in conservation or the way things are done in your home, your neighborhood, your country, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!